presidential candidate.
But I think one way for us to end up being viewed as the ugly American is for us to go around the world saying, we do it this way, so should you.
Now, one of the president's more recent assertions.
The world has a clear interest in the spread of democratic values because stable and free nations do not breed the ideologies of murder. By the resolve and purpose of America and of our friends and allies, we will make this an age of progress and liberty.
So, what happened? Well, September 11th happened, obviously, and George W. Bush had to rethink. But for many of those around Bush, there was no rethink. There didn't have to be. Long before September 11th, a small, influential group of neoconservatives here in Washington had wanted to see the United States transformed into a sort of benevolent ruler, unchallenged, astride the world. And long before George W. Bush was elected, they sat down and they wrote down a manifesto.
It's basically saying the United States has to take responsibility and to enforce peace around the world and enforce what they call American principles, American interests.
The document was effectively a charter of the Project for a New American Century, a neoconservative think tank in Washington.
The founding members included Donald Rumsfeld, Dick Cheney, Paul Wolfowitz of the Defense Department, Richard Pearl, head of the Defense Advisory Board, Louis Libby, Cheney's chief of staff, John Bolton, Undersecretary of State for Arms Control, Elliot Cohen, who's on the Defense Policy Board.
Much of what these men wanted is coming true. They urged that the U.S. abandon the Antiballistic Missile Treaty. It has. They wanted establishment of more permanent U.S. military bases abroad. That is happening in the Philippines and in Georgia and will likely happen in Iraq. They urged regime change as a goal of foreign wars, not just in Iraq. They wanted the U.S. as a global constabulary, their word, unburdened by the UN or world opinion, preventing any challenge to U.S. dominance. But, they wrote, a year before September 11th, such aspirations are unlikely to be realized without a catastrophic and catalyzing event, like a new Pearl Harbor. William Crystal, a leading neoconservative and director of the Project for a New American Century, believes such goals are good and right, and he's delighted with all this success, but he says there's more to do.
We haven't persuaded the Bush administration of everything. I think we need to spend more on defense. I think they need to rethink their policies towards Saudi Arabia. They've kicked the can down the road on North Korea, but obviously they're going to have to deal with that.
The U.S. as Gary Cooper in high noon, say critics, standing tall, all alone, building a new American empire in a new American century.
Neil MacDonald, CBC News, Washington.